Welcome back, everybody, to another episode of Tropical Tidbits, the official podcast of the Florida Tropics Academy, the fastest-growing soccer academy in Central Florida, where nothing's off limits. We, of course, are sponsored by CPS Investment Advisors. You're going to love today's show. Today's show is a little controversial, but a whole lot of fun. We're hanging out with the man everybody loves to hate, and that is the dude in the yellow shirt. The referee. Ladies and gentlemen, meet my friend, also one of our assistant coaches here at the Academy, Mr. Mike Kerrigan. Mike, good to have you with us.
Good to be here.
Welcome, Mike.
So I left out, you are also a certified official head referee. What's the official title? This is how little I know about refs.
Is that the title that Victor's giving me now? I don't know about that.
Well, I know you got the cool yellow shirt.
I was going to say, I'm super happy to see you came in uniform. I appreciate that.
Well, it was a request. I was told I had to come in prepared, so I had to come in with the nice yellows in.
So let's answer the question. Let's do some myth busting.
Okay.
So referees take a lot of slack, right?
Just a little bit. Just a little bit. Yeah.
Do you guys even go to school? Like, do you have to do? Is there any certification to put on and don that yellow shirt, or you just show up?
It is a huge certification, and it's actually yearly. It's not just one and done and you're in. No, it's yearly. Every time that you see a ref, they are going to a class yearly. Not only with an online training, I believe it's about 4 to 5 hours. I believe it is online training, because each year there's updates to the laws, not the rules. The laws of the game. So if you hear me saying laws of the game, that's what I'm talking about.
Well,
it's not rules, it's laws. So there's a lot of updates and whatnot, but also make sure that you're good in regards to safety protocols and whatnot. But you also have to do an on-the-field training as well each year, at least 4 hours or so.
Okay, so break down the different categories. So obviously you are at the highest level of certification as far as
in terms of grassroots. There's I believe it's like 4 different levels. I'm at the lowest level of refereeing, and that's that grassroots level. There are different tiers to it. Like of course, the highest would be that FIFA certified referee, but there's pro. There is I think it's 2 other levels. I can't remember off the top of my head, but there are different levels to it.
So yours is for the youth, and then obviously the higher would be college or pro.
Yeah. Okay. And then college may even be something different, because I don't know if you guys are aware, but with high school, it's totally different rules or laws. And I'm not even used to that, because basically in high school, for instance, they have 3 center refs. Basically, each one has a whistle. It's still strange to me.
Oh, wow.
And I believe they're actually deviating from that. Okay. But yeah, so like high school and college may be a little bit different. I think college is getting close to what like a normal game would be.
I think college has the head ref and then the 2 ARs.
2 ARs, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that was so. Anya played high school for a couple of years now, and that was one of my first questions after watching a few games. I was like, why does the assistant referee keep blowing the whistle? And he's like, 10 feet onto the field.
Strange.
Right.
And then somebody explained to me, no, there's actually 3 head refs.
And then when you go to JV, it's just 2. So you have basically one on one half and one on another. So it's very strange, because that's what Gavin, my son that plays for the U16, so for Lucas Monteleras, he played JV last year, and it was weird to only see 2 refs for the JV. And then, of course, when you go varsity, it's all three with whistles. Very strange.
So what you're trying to tell me is the referee system is as confusing as referees.
It can be. Okay. I'm always learning. Let's put it that way. I am always learning.
So let's focus on the grassroots then. Let's stay within our wheelhouse. You are what I call the trifecta. So you have a very interesting perspective for our viewers. Is not only are you a referee, but you are an assistant coach, like we alluded to for the Tropics. But you're also a father. You have a son who is playing in competitive sports.
Correct.
So you have a unique perspective of each different angle, and there's a lot of controversy with referees and parents, specifically in youth sports.
Just a little.
So much so that there is a shortage of referees, because a lot of people are hesitant to go down that path because of all of the controversy, right? So let's go from a referee perspective first.
Okay.
So from your position on the field, what do you see is the biggest issue? Is it the parents? Is it the coaching? Is it the academy? Is it the players? Like, what is creating a lot of this tension?
It can be a plethora of issues, if I'm being honest. The main issue that I run into is with parents. The players and the coaches usually aren't as bad as what the parents are, to be perfectly honest. And I think I'm probably summarizing it up a little bit harshly, but in America, when you're going to a soccer or match, or you're going to a football match, or you're going to a baseball match, it's pretty easy to yell at the ump or the referee or what have you. I think a lot of parents are used to doing that at a professional level, and they think they can do that at a youth level, and it's not great, to be perfectly honest. A lot of the referees are out there with second and third jobs. I do it for the fun of it. Of course, it's a little bit extra money, but I love the sport. And having a parent come over and yelling at me because their kid wasn't offside or what have you, I'm just like, come on, man. Your child is 8. It's not that big of a deal. At that level, it should all be about the kids and how they're understanding the game and getting better. It's not all about wins and losses. Yes, wins are amazing. And what a lot of parents don't understand is that, as I alluded to earlier, I'm learning all the time. I'm not perfect. I am going to make mistakes, but I'm usually big enough of a person to go over to a coach and like, hey, just let you know, I missed that. I made the bad call. What happened? But I think that's what a lot of parents have to understand, is that we are human. Not everything is going to be 100% correct. But I think it's also important for parents to understand the laws of the game. I alluded to offsides earlier. I'm going to probably say about 75% of parents do not understand offsides.
I think this is where the biggest problem is.
Yes.
It's not just offsides. I don't think most parents understand most of the rules, including what a foul is even.
Correct.
Like, just because your kid fell to the ground, that does not mean it's a foul. Or if the other kid doesn't go to the ground, that doesn't mean it wasn't a foul.
Exactly. It's funny because we have a player on our team. I'm going to go and call him out. Hez is on the U16 team. He's a big guy.
Yes.
And there's a lot of times where he's going in for a challenge and the other kid gets knocked over. And you hear the parents, oh, that's a foul, that's a foul. Just because your kid gets knocked over, it doesn't mean it's a foul. If you don't know, football/soccer is a contact sport. Yeah, it's not American football where you're going in for a tackle and pulling them down to the ground, but it is a physical sport. And you falling over, your kid falling over is going to happen. Just to let you know.
So, okay. So just to clarify, so lack of understanding on the parents is probably alluding to some of the tension.
Yeah.
But that's not saying that the referees are without fault.
Oh,
I mean,
that
happens,
for sure.
of course. But one of the biggest things, because I'm only in the parent role. I'm not a coach. I definitely don't have referee credentials, so I only see things through a parent perspective. So I'm curious to know for the two of you, because you actually see it from a coaching perspective. So from a parent perspective, what I see a lot of times on the sideline is the parents. Some of it is out of love for your child, but sometimes we put ourselves into the game and forget it's about the kids and it's not about us. So we live so vicariously through our children, and a lot of it is because in competitive sports we're at practice 3 days a week and all of our weekends are taken up. So we naturally kind of morph into this world. But the game becomes like my game. It's as if I'm playing it. Yeah. And maybe that's part of the issue is there's no separation. Because I heard you say, it's just an 8-year-old kid. Well, there's a learning curve. There's a developmental phase to all of this. And in those phases, I'm not saying mistakes are okay, but that is kind of part of that process. So kicking it back to you guys from a coaching perspective, because you are on the opposite side of that sideline. I mean, what is your vantage point? Are the parents maybe taking it too serious?
I'll let you go ahead.
I'll start. So two things on that. One, for us as coaches, our rule certainly on our team, and I think this is something we try to spread across the entire academy, is the coach is allowed to be upset with the call, and the coach will address the referee in a professional manner. The player is not to be allowed to be. In fact, that is part of life. That is part of the game. It is part of playing, is that, we tell our players, the ref is going to make a bad call. So you have to deal with it and keep playing, because if you stop and complain about the call or get upset for the next 5 minutes and play poorly, guess what? That's affecting the team, and you need to learn how to move on. So that's typically our message to our players is, bad calls, bad decisions are part of life, and you need to learn how to deal with it. And coaches will address, with the referee maybe to figure out what's going on if there's really a situation.
Yeah, and ours is similar to that. I'll echo a lot of those comments. We do allow our captain to kind of and go up to the referee, and as long as they're being in a respectful tone and asking those questions. I will say that, like, in our side for our team, I'm usually the one that's going over to the ref at water break or halftime and asking questions like, hey, what happened to this foul? How come this wasn't called? Or, well, shouldn't have been a yellow or stuff like that, just because I'm a little bit more, I'll just say calm, cool, and collected compared to our head coach just a little bit. No shout out there to Lucas at all. But that's kind of like my role, especially with the team on the coaching side, is that I'm the one put in that position that, hey, go over and make those calm, collected comments to the referee, like, hey, what's happening here? Why wasn't that called? So it's about the way that you present it to the referee is really what it is.
And I think on the parent side, to address that issue, I want to say we have a zero tolerance policy. I mean, it's close to a zero tolerance policy. We do not, and it's something we try to feed throughout the whole club is the parents are not to address or talk to the referee or certainly to the other players on the other team and even our own players. Right. So be respectful. We've had many, it's the young kids too, but as you get older, I think it gets a lot more feisty with the parents from what I've seen. To the point
it's interesting because that was going to be one of my follow-up questions is, do you see it more of an issue at the younger age than the older? But you actually flip that to where I thought this was going.
So I'm going to piggyback on top of what Mike's saying, because it being at like a club level or an academy level, I'll go ahead and say that Gavin's been a part of a few different clubs and academies in the area. Never once have I ever been part of a club like the Tropics, whereas had that zero tolerance type of policy in place, which was fantastic. Of course, the season is early this year. We've only played one match, but we've had no issues. Last year, the entire time, we have no issues whatsoever. And being, Gavin's played for 5-6 years at this point, that was the first time ever. So seeing that is very, I'm not even sure what the word to use for it is.
It's the culture that we're trying to create.
Right.
That and we obviously love that we get new families in every year. And it's an emotional game. Parents will yell.
Of course.
It's going to happen. And I think what I love on some of our more established teams is that even some of our parents will tell maybe a new parent that's going nuts, like, no.
We're not doing that.
First of all,
we're not part of that.
You to settle down, and that's not okay. And so I think it takes a little bit to understand it's not okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've been, even 2 weeks ago, the referee had to stop the match for the other team and told the coach, he went over to the other coach and said, your parents either stop complaining or I'm sending them all to the parking lot.
Wow.
Yeah.
But I think that's it's the right call, because again, the issue, and I hate just dogging on parents. I make a lot of parent memes. So if anybody that follows on Instagram, like the self-deprecation of the parents, like they're kind of like free fodder. So I apologize to the parents. I'm always picking on you, but we can do better. I am a work in progress. I know my wife, don't want to jump on her, but she used to be a lot feistier than she is now. So she's come a long way. But it is the culture. But I will say one thing that I think helps with the culture is there's so much faith in our coaches that I think that alone alleviates some of the pressure that I've seen, because we trust the coaching so much that I think parents don't feel like they have to interject and overcorrect, because they know they've got it. They're going to handle it.
Yeah, I think that's a big, again, our culture with the coaches too is, and look, they get excited. They'll bark at a ref here and there,
right? For
sure.
Yeah.
But if you have coaches that are going nuts on the sideline, then the parents are going to go nuts too.
Right.
And so I think the example that our coaches set go a long way to making sure that the parents follow suit.
Correct. Yeah. Totally agree.
So I heard you bring up Gavin a lot. So for people that don't know that's your son.
Correct.
So who's this Gavin guy?
Sorry, my apologies.
But you believe in the yellow shirt so much. I saw Gavin went through training. I think I saw him on the sideline. So he's learning how to do it too.
So I've actually expressed this out to Gavin and his teams in the past, because at that time all refs were able to become, let me phrase this correctly, kids as young as 13 were able to become referees. They did change it to 14, so he just recently became the referee. But I think it's important for all players, to be perfectly honest,
Right.
to better understand the game. There's so many different laws that happen that a lot of the kids don't even realize. And not to mention, it's a little bit extra, money in their pocket when they're not able to work at 14. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
so Gavin was especially excited, helping out at the beginning of the season, and here he goes and buys his new, pair of cleats that he's been eyeing forever. So he was excited about that. But I think it's very important for the kids to, if they're able to, try and certify as a referee and to better understand the game and maybe have a little bit more respect for what the refs have to go through.
No, I think that's fantastic because I think it's going to make them more well-rounded players.
Exactly.
And appreciate it more. But it also solves kind of what I alluded to earlier. There's a shortage of referees. I mean, if we can infuse especially youth sports and the grassroots level with some more referees and ones that are our own, I think that alone makes the game better. And if they are player referees, then maybe some of those calls that we get all upset about will start being better. I don't know. I mean, it's because I think it's kind of a three-headed animal. It's there are mistakes. Yeah, parents get emotional, and there is a culture thing. So I don't think there's an easy solution to it all. And I don't even think you're going to solve it altogether. But I think we can definitely do better.
And speaking of Gavin, one of my favorite things as a coach on a U15 girls team or U16 team now is when the U14 or 15 boy shows up that they're friends with, usually in a scrimmage, just not in the regular season game.
Right.
We wouldn't put them. But it's the awkward level of having the teenagers all together. It's I don't know what the word is, but it's brilliant.
It's great theater.
It's great theater. When they show up and they're like, what are you doing here? You're roughing, and of course Gavin probably wants to crawl into a shell in front of the entire U16 girls team.
I think he actually had his first competitive match as an AR last weekend, and he was reffing for G's team, so it's the U15 girls now.
Yes.
So it was fun to actually see him break out a little bit more, because he's not, I wouldn't say introverted, but he tries to keep it to himself a little bit, I guess. And he actually had to check in, the other team, and then he's an AR on the I think was even the Tropics parent side, so a lot of them were giving a little bit of crap, and in a nice way, of course, because he knows a lot of the parents over there. But I think it makes the parents and the athletes a little bit more comfortable when they see a fellow athlete out there that understands the match and the game and how the laws go.
I like it. See, we're reinventing the sport, guys.
That's right.
We're making a change. All right, craziest referee moment.
Oh, boy.
Come on, I know you got stories. Keep it PG.
So it was actually last year. I was an AR for a U16 girls match, and one of the visiting team players got hurt towards the end of the match. The referee was a little bit loose on his calls. But was giving them out, or giving cards out as needed and such. One of the parents for the visiting team got very upset with not the referee, but the head coach, and came over and not only shoved him, but punched him in the face. And the three referees, myself included, actually had to separate the coach and the parent. I'm like, I don't even understand what's happening right now. But yeah, this is happening. Yeah,
I think I saw this on TikTok.
I'm sure you probably did.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, best referee moment.
I don't know if I would say best referee moment, but it was that proud dad moment was actually last week. To be perfectly honest, I just talked about it a little bit ago, but seeing Gavin actually go out there and handle himself in a professional manner. Of course, I know how good of a player he is, but going back and seeing how he's maturing into that young man, it was just so proud to see, Mike, you're talking about, with Anya and whatnot. And of course, Jared, it's so cool to see him going out there and refereeing and doing a great job. He actually had a great call as for a foul on his side that the center ref did not call, and he had a great no call, which it was a foul that happened, but when they maintained possession, he let it go and no call. It was great to see. It's cool to see him evolve into that soccer player that understands how the game is played in that referee sense as well.
That's awesome, man. That's awesome. All right, let's clear it up right here, right now. We got a couple minutes left. What is the offsides rule?
So
we probably need diagrams.
You almost need a diagram, but it's a lot of people think it's if the player is. Let me actually say what it actually is. As long as that attacking person is in line with that second to last defender. And I say second to last
second to
defender
last.
because
I've learned
the
about this.
keeper is a defender.
Okay.
So
Gotcha.
that's how it's stated.
Okay.
So it's that second to last defender, which is usually a center back. But as long as they're in line with that second to last defender before the ball is kicked. Once you basically, so like a lot of the tells for us as ARs, because our eyes are everywhere. Our eyes are making sure where the offside is. We're actually watching, the where the ball is. So you're kind of going cross-eyed at the same time. But a good call for yourself as an AR is to listen. And when you're hearing that, basically that little pop of the pass, you're almost like, okay, they're offside. But in a more professional setting, yes, it's going to be like the foot. It's going to be the shoulder and whatnot. At a youth level, I'm not calling it that close. A lot of parents get upset if I'm calling it, if I'm not calling it that close. But at youth level, I'm not calling it that close. If Anya has a head of the shoulder of a center back, I'm not calling that offside.
Right.
But in a professional level, yes, that would be deemed offside. They would go back to VAR and they would highlight, Anya's head. Oh, she's offside. Yeah. But yes, as long as their body is not off, behind or in front of that last defender, they're onside. Just stay in line with that other defender.
Which, by the way, I think that's kind of going to be a trend, right? And even at the pro level, I think they're trying to make it more obvious than a finger.
I think it was
or a
Arteta
hand.
that actually. No, who was it? I can't remember who it was. It was somebody I think an old Premier League coach that actually tried to introduce that type of law or that amendment to the law.
Because before VAR, it probably was the general had to be fairly obvious-ish. To call us, because I can't imagine how difficult. And that's the funny thing about parents complaining is the ball could be kicked from midfield and you're near the 18, and so you're, like you said, you're cross-eyed, trying to look at both at the same time. So it's it can be a difficult call.
It very well can be, and I've even heard going back to Gavin helping out with scrimmages. Oh, they weren't offside. What it's one if you're not in line specifically with that defender in that forward or that winger, what have you, it could be slightly off. Your depth perception is very deceiving, especially on that soccer field.
Right.
So it's unless you're there specifically in line, with them as a AR should be. It's hard to tell. So as a parent, just give a little grace when it comes to that.
And there's only one per side.
Correct.
So the action might be on the other side of the field, and so now you're having to look 40 yards. The same thing. So it's of course, I feel like I'm on Mike's side here, and I'm the guy in the game. If he doesn't call that call, I am on him. Believe me, I'm not giving him any grace about those 40 yards.
No, Jarrett. When is there not offside?
I have no idea, man.
Throw-ins.
Oh,
that's
okay.
No offside on a throw-in.
Mike.
There's also another one.
I've heard that chatter on the side. Okay.
Yeah, so you'll see a lot
confirmed.
of forwards running past because there's no offside on a throw-in. But there's also another one. Do you know when?
Corner kick.
Goal kick.
Oh, goal kick. Okay.
So goal kick. So goal kick. The forward can be as high as they want to. No offside.
Interesting.
Just can't be in the box.
We're all learning something today. So a big shout out to Melissa Harkson. She's the one who told me that there's no offsides on a throw-in. I just remembered, and I didn't believe her at the time. So, Melissa, I apologize. You were right.
Wow.
I was wrong. So
That's
there it is.
a very nice, a public
so see,
there. Yeah.
everybody knows I too can be wrong.
and you actually brought up corner kicks. I think corner kicks is another one to actually be a great thing to talk about because a lot of people think that, automatically no offside on a corner kick. That is true, but a lot of times there's that second hit to the ball.
Oh, yeah.
That,
right.
say this is the goal where it comes in here, it hits here, and then ricochets off of this person.
Yep.
And yes, they were offside. So it all depends. So if they were behind the last defender from that second touch, that they could be offside.
Because it hasn't really come into play in my experience because we're still at the younger level. We're still learning how to do a corner kick proper. But I would imagine at the level that your kids are playing at, that probably is a thing.
It does happen.
Yeah, and even not to get too technical because I know we're not on video, but we've seen where they do a short kick in off the corner. The player that took the corner comes in and is now in an offside position. And they pass it back to try to send it in, and they're offside.
They're offside.
So
we actually had to work with our team about that. So they didn't understand. Guys, you have to come back onside first, then get the ball. Yeah.
There's a lot
interesting.
of different moving parts to
Oh
that.
yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool. Well, Mike, you're a good sport, man. Thanks for letting us
Yeah,
beat
no
you up for
problem.
Thanks for
Labor Day.
having me.
Referees are people too. That's the lesson here
Most of us.
today. That's right. If you want to follow along, you should. If you haven't, what's wrong with you? Florida Tropics Academy, the hub is on Instagram. So go there, check out our viral memes. Of course, we'll post splice to these episodes. We are the Florida Tropics Academy. Thank you to CPS Investment Advisors for this fantastic studio, and we hope to check you out on the next episode.